So my name is Sridhar. I'm working with Narayana Medical Academy from past 5 years. Now we are going to deal with the major segment of physics, that is electricity. The major topic of that is electrostatics and Gauss law, in which the major topic is the electric charges and fields. Now in this electric charges and fields, the subtopics that we are going to cover are charge and its properties, properties of this charge, types of charging methods, Coulomb's law, electric field and field due to a point charge, superposition principle of both forces as well as fields, dipole and their fields, electric field lines and flux, Gauss law and its applications. So these are the subtopics that we are going to cover with electric charges and fields. Now let us start with charge and its types. It is charge. What is this charge? Charge is the intrinsic property of matter. Intrinsic property of matter that produces the effects of electric and magnetic fields. This charge is of two types. One is positive, one is negative. This is by basic nomenclature. We are representing the charge as positive and negative. Now, this charge has some properties. The properties of this charge are, first one, suppose if I consider a body, this is charged Q. There will be both positive and negative. The total charge on the body is, sum of both positive as well as negative charges. For example, if I take an atom, take sodium, there will be 10 electrons, 11 electrons as well as 11 protons in it. The sum of the total charges, 11 electrons plus 11 protons, is equal to 0. That is why an atom is electrically neutral. So that means the first property of the charge is the total charge on the body is additive. That is, sum of all the positive and negative charges present on it. The second one, charge is conservative. Charge is conservative. What does this conservative mean? Suppose if I go for an isolated system of two bodies, this contains 10 electrons and this contains 5 electrons. The total number of electrons in this system is 15 electrons. Now, some of the electrons of this one is transferred to the body of 5 electrons. Let us transfer 2 electrons to this. Now, the total number of electrons on this first body is 8 electrons. On this is 7 electrons. Now the total charge of the system, again it is 8 electrons plus 7 electrons gives rise to 15 electrons. In this way, whenever there is an isolated system, the total amount of the charge will always be constant. So we simply say the charge is conservative. The third one, the third property of the charge is invariant. Charge is invariant. What does this invariant word mean? Invariant means we have frames of reference. We see the charge from any frame. The charge upon the body is independent of the frame. Let us say an example. Suppose there is a body upon which there are 10 electrons. The charge of the body is negative and a person is standing here and he sees the charge. He says simply the charge on this body is 10 electrons. Let us think another person is running with a speed v. Now this person also says that the charge on the body is 10 electrons only. It means that the charge does not vary with the frame of reference. So that is why charge is invariant. So this is the third property of the charge. The fourth property of the charge is quantized. What does this quantization mean? Suppose if I take a body again. Upon this body, if I want to find out the charge present on it, always the charge on a body is integral multiples of the least possible charge present in nature is the charge of one electron. That is, suppose if I say charge on the body is Q and the least possible charge is charge of one electron. So therefore, we say plus or minus Ne. This is the charge present on the body. That is, always the charge on the body is the integral multiples of the fundamental charge of nature, which is the charge of an electron. So this is the charge present upon a body, which is said to be quantized. So these are the four properties of the charge. So now we will see what are the charging methods. How do we get a charged body? Let us see charging methods. Charging methods. First charging method is by friction. By friction. Second one is by conduction. The third charging method is by induction. So let us see the first charging method, that is by friction. By friction. By friction. Now, so when two bodies are taken, these two bodies are rubbed against each other, the transfer of charges will take place. This method of charging the bodies is called charging by friction or frictional method. For example, take a glass rod and a silk cloth. This is a silk cloth and this is a glass rod. When a glass rod is rubbed with a silk cloth, that is taking a glass rod and rubbing it like this, these two will get charged. This method of charging the bodies is called frictional method. Now what happens by rubbing the two bodies against each other? One body attains positive charge and other body attains negative charge. Then again there a question raises, which body attains positive and which body attains negative? The one with greater electron affinity will get negative. The one with less affinity will get positive. So here in this example, the silk cloth has greater electron affinity, so therefore it gets negative charge and this gets positive charge. So in this way, charging by friction will take place. The one which donates the electrons will get the positive, the one which gains the electrons will get negative. The one with greater electron affinity will get the negative charge. And here, the one which donates the electrons is called donor, the one which attains the electrons is called acceptor. So here, in the case of frictional method, the two bodies will have opposite charges. So therefore, frictional method results in attraction. Now, let us go with the second method, say by conduction. By conduction. By conduction. Let a charged body is brought in contact with an uncharged body. Let us take a charged body, say it's very comfortable, let us take electrons. or negative. A negatively charged body is brought in contact with an uncharged body. Uncharged body. The charge will flow from the charged body to uncharged body until both will come to a common potential. This method of charging the uncharged body is called conduction. Once again I repeat, what is meant by conduction? Conduction is a phenomenon in which when a charged body is in contact with the uncharged body, the charge will flow until both the bodies obtain a common potential. So here the two bodies attain the similar charges, so therefore conduction results in repulsion. Conduction results in repulsion. This is the method of conduction. Now let us go to the third method, which is induction. What is this induction method? When a charged body, say negatively charged body, is brought very near to an uncharged body, this charged body will distribute the charges upon the uncharged body in such a way the opposite charge will come closer. That is, positive charge will be obtained near the charged body and negative charge on the other side. So I'll make it clear that suppose when you are making the uncharged body charging by induction method, the uncharged body is brought very near to the uncharged body. Now this charged body attracts the opposite charge or repels the similar charge. So here negatively charged body is taken so that the electrons are repelled by it and the electrons will move away, creating an opposite charge close to the charged body. Now these charges are induced charges, and this method of charging a body is called induction. These charges will reside upon the surface. How do you make it charge single one? Let us see. Now this is earthed so that the electrons will flow from here to here, and this charged body is removed so that whatever the positive charge is there, this gets distributed upon the surface uniformly. So now this becomes a positively charged body. These electrons will go to the earth and get neutralized, and this is removed at the same time. So this positive charge will get distributed so that it becomes a positively charged body. Now by method of induction, opposite charges are created, so induction results in attraction. So these are the methods of charging. Coulomb's law. Coulomb's law. So consider two charges Q1 and Q2 separated by a distance r. According to Coulomb's law, the force of attraction or repulsion between two charges is directly proportional to product of the magnitudes of the two charges, and this force is inversely proportional to square of the distance between them. From this we can write F is proportional to modulus of Q1 and modulus of Q2 by R square. Therefore F is equal to, introducing a constant K, modulus of Q1 modulus of Q2 by R square. So this is Coulomb's law. So according to Coulomb's law, the force between two charges may be attraction or repulsion, which is directly proportional to product of the magnitudes of the two charges and inversely proportional to square of the distance between them. Now from here I am removing the proportionality constant and introducing a constant K. So F is equal to K Q1 Q2 by R square. where here this constant K depends upon the units of these charges and the distance between them. And also this K has a value given by 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, where the value of this K is 9 into 10 to the power of 9 Newton meter square by Coulomb square, where epsilon naught is equal to the absolute permittivity of vacuum or free space. So now once again we discuss about K. K is a proportionality constant whose value is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, which depends upon the medium between the two charges and the units that we have taken. So the value of K is 9 into 10 to the power of 9 Newton meter square per Coulomb square, and it is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, where epsilon naught is the ability of the medium or the characteristic property of the medium, which is known as absolute permittivity of the particular medium. Say here we are taking it as vacuum or free space. No, now its value carries out to be 8.856 into 10 to the power of minus 12 Coulomb square per Newton meter square. So this is the force between the two charges given by Coulomb's law. Now if these charges are taken into any other medium, let us say I have taken these charges into petrol. So let us see, F is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon Q1 Q2 by R square. Let us see, Q1 Q2 are the two charges separated by a distance in any other medium. Let us take any other medium, so other than vacuum or free space. In this medium, this is the force between the two charges, so which is affected by the medium. Now always we have to remember that the force between the charges is independent of in which medium that they are placed, but the net force on the charge will vary. The net force on the charge is force due to this one and also force due to the polarization of the medium because of these charges. So that is why we have to simply remember that always the force between the two charges is independent of the medium in which they are placed, but the net force on a charge will vary. So this is Coulomb's law. Next topic is limitations of Coulomb's law. Let us see the limitations. What are the limitations of Coulomb's law? The first one, Coulomb's law is applicable for the charges at rest only. Charges at rest. Charges must be at rest. Why? Why the charges must be at rest? The reason is a charge at rest produces only electric field. The charge in motion, motion is again two types. One is uniform motion and accelerated motion. So when the charge is at rest, produces only electric field. When the charge is in uniform motion, produces both electric field as well as magnetic field. So the charge in accelerated motion produces electric field and magnetic field and radiates energy. Radiates energy. That is, suppose if the charge is in motion, it will produce both electric and magnetic fields. If you want to find out a force at a point where a charge is placed, then there will be force due to electric field, there will be force due to magnetic field. Results will differ from the Coulomb's equation. So therefore, charge must always be at rest, which produces only electric field. The second one, charges must be of point size. Point sized. Why they must be of point charges? If they are distributed to on a surface, if the charges are distributed on a surface, there will be effect of induction. So inducing of charges will take place upon the surfaces, therefore which results in difference in the distance of charges. So therefore, the net force will change. That is the reason why the charges must be point sized. Therefore, these are the limitations of Coulomb's law. Next one, let us see vector form of Coulomb's law. Coulomb's law. Vector form of Coulomb's law. Let us see now, consider two charges Q1 and Q2, whose position vectors are R1 bar and R2 bar. R1 bar and R2 bar. This is 1 to 2. This is R12 bar. This is 2 to 1. This is R21 bar. This is R21 bar. Now let us see how to write the vector form of Coulomb's law. Now if I say, if the charges are similar, that is of same polarity, that is Q1, Q2 greater than 0, then one will repel the other. Therefore, the force on 2 due to 1 will be in this direction. Force on 2 due to 1 in this direction. Then force on 1 due to 2 is in this direction. Force on 1 due to 2 will be in this direction. Force on 2 due to 1 will be in this direction. Therefore, if I write force on 2 due to 1 in vector form as K Q1 Q2 by magnitude of R12, that is from here to here, the force is in this direction. So R12 bar magnitude square, R12 bar magnitude square into R12 cap. This is a way that we can write. R12 bar can be written as, let us see. How to write this R12 bar? Here, if you see R1 bar plus R12 bar is equal to R2 bar from vector law of triangle law of vectors. R1 bar plus R12 bar is equal to R2 bar. R1 bar plus R12 bar is equal to R2 bar. Then I can write R12 bar is equal to R2 bar minus R1 bar. So therefore, now I replace this like F21 bar is equal to K Q1 Q2, K Q1 Q2 by R12 bar is R2 bar minus R1 bar magnitude square R12 cap. So F21 bar is equal to K Q1 Q2 by R2 bar minus R1 bar magnitude square into R2 bar minus R1 bar by R2 bar minus R1 bar magnitude. So finally I can write F21 bar, which is force on 2 due to 1 in this direction can be finally written as K Q1 Q2 by R2 bar minus R1 bar magnitude cubed into R2 bar minus R1 bar. Similarly, we can write F12 bar also K Q1 Q2 by R1 minus R1 bar minus R2 bar modulus cubed into R1 bar minus R2 bar. So finally, I'll write similarly, I write F12 bar, that is force on 1 due to 2 will be in this direction, so which can be represented as K Q1 Q2 by R1 bar minus R2 bar modulus cubed into R1 bar minus R2 bar. So this is a way that we represent the vector form of Coulomb's law. Similarly, we can also write, if the charges Q1, Q2 is less than 0, there will be attractive forces. One will attract the other. So the forces direction will change in this direction. So this is vector form of Coulomb's law.